The year 2020 has been one to remember. Already we have seen the outbreak of a deadly virus, earthquakes shaking people's homes in Utah for days, drought, and fires. With all of these large events going on, there's one event that you probably haven't spent much time or consideration: supply and demand. My current occupation, working at a hardware store right now, has shown me the supply and demand issues currently plaguing our country. Our store sells anywhere from kitchen gadgets to plumbing supplies to gardening, and we have watched as many have been on high demand and short supply. Who remembers when the quarantine hit and everybody rushed to the stores to stock up on food storage and weird supplies? The number one on their list being toilet paper. We all laughed and thought it was kind of funny, but right now we're seeing other items that are hard to find on the shelves and are in high demand. This is creating a really hard time for our economy, and we're going to take a look at three main items right now that are on short supply and on high demand: lumber, canning goods, and ammo. When the pandemic hit, companies were really fast to lower interest rates, especially banks, and that led people to want to build their homes. Lumber became on high demand while also other people were home and wanting to renovate. With the high demand of lumber came the closure of companies and lumber yards with COVID-19. On top of all of that, this summer was hot. And in the beginning, we watched as our three main lumber states, Oregon, Washington, and California, currently and during the summer were on fire. That creates a really hard case for lumber. The prices for lumber have raised on top of the demand being so high and supply being so short. $2.50 for a 2x4x8 is a typical price, where right now you can get a 2x4x8 for $6.50. Think about that when you're building a home out of 2x4s. On top of lumber came the shortage of canned goods. Now, when the pandemic started, everybody was preparing for the end of the world. That led to more gardening than our country has ever seen before. As the end of the gardening season has hit, so has canning demand. Many are wanting to store their food for the winter and are unable to find canning supplies. The company Kerr and Ball are some of your bigger canning companies, and with the hit of COVID had to close down. Right now, they are on high demand and are unable to supply. Many companies like our store had in the beginning only a few jars and lids. Right now, you can buy lids on Amazon for $300 for a package. That is proof of the supply and demand of canning right now. It makes it a challenge when others are trying to store their gardens. If you had jars before, you can't find lids. If you didn't have anything to start, it's really challenging to find the combination of the two. It seems silly, but in the chain of supply and demand, it has taken a big hit. On top of canning lids comes ammo. Ammo is in really high demand right now as rioting and BLM protesters started off our quarantine and have led people to want to protect their homes. The rise in demand for ammo makes it really hard because there's no supply. Most of your items that you supply and you build ammo with, iron, copper, brass, and your casings or gunpowder, are unable to be produced or purchased right now, making it impossible to build more ammo. Therefore, creating a really hard case for ammo supply right now and a really high demand for those wanting to protect their homes. Although 2020 is far from over, we are seeing a lot of challenges hit, and I want to end with this quote here. This comes from Dustin Talper, an economist at Fastworks Market, RISI, and this was an interview he did with Fortune. This is a severe lumber shortage. Demand is hot and continues to be strong. In the next month or two, it's going to continue to be elevated. Pay attention to lumber because it plays a big role in other supply and demand chains. 2020 begins here, but where does it end? A lot of economic professionals don't see an end in sight, and it's only going to get worse from here as the cycle of supply and demand continues. If you go into a hardware store this weekend, ask them the items that they are short on. They might just tell you that 2020 has wiped them out of lumber, canning goods, and ammo. Pay attention, keep your eyes open, and stock up.